In the world of motorcycle racing, some names are remembered for their championships, but others are remembered for their incredible spirit, technical genius, and sheer steel-willed determination. Helmut Fath was one of those guys. He wasn't just a racer, he was a brilliant self-taught engineer, a designer, and a master mechanic working out of a simple shop in a forest outside the village of Ursenbach, Germany. From this humble workshop, Fath took on the giants of the racing world. This history will trace the incredible journey of Helmut Fath. From his early innovations in sidecar racing and the tragic accident that nearly ended his career, to the creation of the legendary four-cylinder URS engine. This engine, named after his hometown, became his revenge against the manufacturer that once rejected him, and it carried him to a world championship. More than that, this report will cover Fath's bigger ambition: to use his creation to challenge the dominance of MV Agusta in the 500cc class. Long before the URS name was famous, Helmut Fath's technical genius was already shining. In 1960, he became the sidecar world champion. This victory, even though he was using a BMW R50 engine common among privateers, was no ordinary win. Fath didn't just ride his bike, he completely reinvented it. The key to his success was his own innovative custom-built chassis, which became known as the Kneeler. The Kneeler design was a total breakthrough. By moving the gas tank to the passenger's platform, Fath was able to create an extremely low riding position. This dramatically lowered the bike's center of gravity, making it far more stable and faster through the corners. Michael Nelson, who later owned this historic bike, put it perfectly. This bike wasn't put together by the factory, but by a real genius with a competitive spirit. This innovation proved Fath wasn't just a user of technology, but a creator of it. Unfortunately, his rising career came to a screeching halt. In 1961, while racing at the dangerous Nürburgring circuit, Fath had a horrific crash. His passenger, Alfred Wohlgemuth, was killed, while Fath himself suffered severe injuries and nearly lost his leg. Fath was forced to stop racing for several years to recover. Even though he couldn't race, Fath was never far from engines. During his long recovery, he offered tuning services for BMW Rennsport engines for other racers. This is where his problems with the BMW factory began. The engines Fath tuned were famously fast, often even faster than the official BMW factory team's bikes. This annoyed the factory, who were irritated at being beaten by an injured private mechanic. This recovery period, born from tragedy, became a crucial turning point in Fath's career. When he finally recovered and was ready to race again in 1963, he tried to buy an engine from BMW. But he was flatly rejected. This rejection, which he saw as an insult, lit a fire under him. Driven by the desire to race again and get back at BMW, Fath made a huge decision. If he couldn't buy a winning engine, he would build one himself. The tragedy at the Nürburgring didn't end his career. It created a legend. Being rejected by BMW wasn't the end, but a new beginning. For Helmut Fath, it was a challenge he had to answer. Out of this frustration and fiery spirit, an incredibly ambitious project was born. In his remote workshop near Ursenbach, Fath began to design and build his own racing engine from scratch. He named the project URS after his hometown, as a sign that this was his personal creation. Fath knew he couldn't do it alone. He brought in Dr. Peter Kuhn from Heidelberg University, a metallurgy expert, and Horst Oesley, a fellow racer and engineer. The three of them started a project that would challenge the established factory giants. As a personal touch, Fath named each engine he built after people like Emil, Friedrich, Gustav, and Heinrich, instead of using cold factory serial numbers. This showed just how personal the URS project was to him. At first glance, the 498 cubic centimeter Inline-Four URS engine might look similar to Italian engines like the Gilera or MV Agusta. But on the inside, it was completely different and highly innovative. The engine used double overhead camshaft technology with 2 valves per cylinder. Its main unique feature was the crankshaft design. Instead of using one long crankshaft, Fath and Kuhn designed a system with two separate crankshafts connected to a countershaft. This unusual design was meant to reduce vibration and stress when the engine was revved at incredibly high RPM. Power from the countershaft went to a 6-speed gearbox and also turned the camshafts. Dr. Kuhn's expertise in materials allowed the URS engine to rev up to 15,000 RPM, an almost unheard of number for a 500cc engine at the time. Another innovation was the use of a Bosch fuel injection system, which was successfully used on a racing motorcycle for the first time ever. This was a huge leap forward compared to the carburetors used by his competitors. The result was an engine that, although bigger and heavier than the BMW engine, produced far more power. The URS could put out 84 to 88 bhp, while the best BMW engine only made about 65 to 70 bhp. This power advantage was more than enough to make up for its shortcomings. This table shows just how amazing Fath's achievement was. He didn't just build a competing engine. He built an engine that was on a whole other level. Fath had created his weapon of revenge. After years of development, the 1968 racing season was the moment of truth for Helmut Fath and his URS engine. With his new passenger, Wolfgang Kaczor, Fath was ready to unleash the full power of his bike. That season became a show of force that shocked the racing world. The URS's performance on the track was incredible. Out of 6 races, Fath and Kaczor won 3 of them. The highlight was winning 2 races held in Germany, at the Nürburgring and Hockenheim. Winning on BMW's home turf was a major slap in the face to the manufacturer that had once rejected him. At the end of the season, Helmut Fath and Wolfgang Kaczor were crowned the 1968 Sidecar World Champions. It was an incredible personal victory for Fath, but it meant more than that. The URS victory in 1968 ended BMW's 15-year domination of the World Championship. Even more amazing, this was the only time in the history of the Sidecar World Championship that a racer won the title with an engine he designed and built entirely in his private workshop. For his incredible achievement, the leading motorcycle racing magazine, Motorcycle News, named Helmut Fath its Man of the Year for 1968. This victory proved that intelligence, innovation, and hard work could beat the power, money, and big name of a factory. Helmut Fath's revenge was sweet. After conquering the sidecar racing world, Helmut Fath could have relaxed, but he wasn't the type to rest on his laurels. For him, the 1968 victory was just the beginning. His mind was already on a much bigger and more prestigious challenge: solo 500cc motorcycle racing.
Post corner, lap 5. Hailwood.
This decision showed his true ambition. He wanted to prove that his URS engine could compete on racing's biggest stage. His target was clear: the legendary Italian racer Giacomo Agostini and his unbeatable MV Agusta factory bike. Challenging them was an incredibly bold move, even for a major factory team. But Fath had a solid reason. He knew his URS engine produced 84 to 88 brake horsepower, which on paper was more powerful than MV Agusta's 3-cylinder engine. In theory, the URS should have been more than a match for the reigning champion. Fath believed that if he could find the right chassis, he had a real shot at breaking Agostini's dominance. The challenge, of course, was huge. The URS engine was designed for a sidecar. Putting it into a nimble solo bike frame was an extremely complicated job. Fath was no longer just fighting BMW. He was challenging a living legend at the top of the motorcycle racing world. With a powerful engine, he needed the right chassis for his solo bike. This journey was full of drama, hope, and conflict. At first, Fath partnered with Colin Seely, one of the best racing chassis designers in England. The collaboration between the German engine genius and the British chassis expert seemed perfect. The Seely URS bike they built showed immediate promise, finishing 4th at the International Ulster Grand Prix in 1967. But the partnership fell apart over one thing. Fath felt the brakes designed by Seely's team weren't strong enough for his 88 bhp bike. Without telling Seely, Fath secretly contacted Rickman Matisse, Seely's main competitor, and borrowed one of their superior disc brakes. He then installed the rival's brake on the Seely URS prototype. For Seely, this was a betrayal. The promising partnership imploded overnight. This incident showed Fath's character. For him, performance was everything, even if it meant sacrificing a working relationship. Unfazed, Fath moved on. If Rickman Matisse's brakes were the best, why not just use their whole chassis? He commissioned a complete frame from them. This turned out to be the right move. In 1969, with racer Kaczor and Hoppe, the URS Matisse bike became a fearsome weapon. It won many races and even broke a lap record set by Giacomo Agostini. In a world championship race in Germany, Hoppe finished second, right behind Agostini on his factory MV Agusta. This result proved Fath's instincts were right. The URS Matisse was no longer just a prototype. It was a serious contender for the 500cc world title. A creation from a mechanic in a small workshop was truly capable of threatening the best racer and machine in the world. After the success with the Rickman Matisse chassis, the URS solo project got a lot of attention. The chance to take it to the next level came from a new, seemingly perfect partnership. Helmut Fath joined forces with Friedl Münch, another legendary German motorcycle figure. Münch's company was backed by an American millionaire named George Bell, who was serious about racing. This partnership promised what Fath always lacked: proper funding. The new team, known as Munch URS, hit the ground running. They built their own chassis inspired by the successful Rickman design. With the proven URS engine, a great chassis, and solid funding, all the pieces for a world championship run seemed to be in place. The Münch URS team's debut in the 1970 season was a huge success. In their first race, their riders, Ferdinand Kaczor and Kaczor and Hoppe, finished in first and second place. A week later, at a world championship race in Germany, Kaczor and Hoppe again impressed with a fourth-place finish. The dream of beating MV Agusta seemed within reach. But just as hopes were highest, the project suddenly imploded from within. After the race in Germany, a disagreement broke out between the two headstrong leaders, Helmut Fath and Friedl Münch. The conflict between these two equally stubborn geniuses was fatal. A disappointed Fath quit the team and took his star rider, Ferdinand Kaczor, with him. The departure of Fath, the architect of the URS engine, was a fatal blow. Friedl Münch's dream of Grand Prix glory turned to dust. Without Fath, the project lost its soul. The financial collapse of the Munch factory at the end of 1971 was the final nail in the coffin for the once promising project. In 1971, a year after Fath left the Munch URS project, the URS engine returned to its natural habitat, sidecar racing. This time, the engine was given to his old collaborator, Horst Oezel. With his passenger Peter Rutherford, Oezel took the URS-powered sidecar to compete in the World Championship. The result was incredible. Oezel and Rutherford dominated the 1971 season and won the Sidecar World Championship. This was the second world title for the URS engine, won by two different drivers in 3 years. This victory was the final proof. It showed that the URS engine design was fundamentally brilliant, even without its creator behind the handlebars. Helmut Fath never raced seriously again after his falling out with Munch. He passed away on June 19, 1993, at the age of 64, leaving behind an incredible legacy. He was a world champion, a revolutionary innovator, a genius engineer, and at the same time a stubborn individual.